And now, the show you've all been waiting for. It's Vox Bellator. Games, comics, movies, it's all discussed here, live and without filter. If you aren't listening, what are you doing with your life? And now, give it up for your host, Sumo and his co-host, the Smed Head. Let's get into it.
Hello everyone, this is Sumo coming to you live on a fantastic Monday night. As always, I am joined by my esteemed co-host, the one, the only, the myth, the legend, the Smed Head. Smed, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Sumo. Doing great as always. Always glad to be back on the podcast. What are we getting into? Oh, wait. It is Marvel Mondays, baby.
That's right. This is the inaugural Marvel Monday. We're going to try to get into a little bit more of a regimented schedule now. So what we've got planned, we've got Marvel Mondays, Warhammer Wednesdays, and Free for All Fridays. So Marvel Mondays, of course, it's going to be Marvel talk. Warhammer Wednesdays, same deal. 40K, maybe some Age of Sigmar if we ever get into it. But Free for All Fridays will be our rough and tumble. We'll talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
That and Marvel Mondays can include, some DC characters can be thrown in there as well. I mean, we're not, biased against them. They're just all too OP to me.
Yeah, it's the term Mary Sue gets thrown around a lot, but if there's any group of characters that could really just embody the term Mary Sue, it's the DC Justice League. So, yeah, when you've got Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, it's like...
and Green Lantern.
Let's not even get started.
It's just... Here. Yeah, and the Flash. Everybody that's the best of the best.
Right.
That have no flaws.
Yeah. And, eventually, of course, they did introduce flaws into them and everything. But let's be honest, when it comes to making relatable, more human characters, nobody does it better than Marvel. Marvel characters had problems. They were human, in a very real sense. That, like Spider-Man. Well, of course, Spider-Man's a superhero, but he was also a teenager for a large part of his comic runs back in the day. And he had to deal with things like high school and trying to get a date and taking care of his elderly aunt, things like that.
And college and everything else. I mean, that's what I love about, most Marvel characters is that they all have some kind of flaw that makes it more relatable to the characters.
That's exactly right.
But today we are focusing on some of the Marvel anti-heroes. Exactly. Which are some of my favorite.
And God, are they awesome. They're absolutely awesome.
They're great.
The first one we're going to talk about is Smed's absolute favorite hero, anti-hero, and I would be willing to bet probably his favorite Marvel character ever. Why don't you go ahead and start us off, Smed?
Francis Castiglione, baby.
Yeah.
Frank Castle, the Punisher.
That's right.
You can't see me right now, but I'm holding my arms up flexing. I'm so happy.
Absolutely right, man. And the Punisher's just freaking awesome, man. He is an absolutely brutal dude.
He is. He's ruthless, he's relentless, and he has one of the best reasons to do what he does.
He does. And it's really... honestly very, very tragic. He is
it's terrible.
It's a very heartbreaking origin story. And like many of Marvel's origin stories, there's a lot of heartbreak here, but this one was one that came out in the early 70s, early to mid 70s, I think 74.
Yes, he first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 129.
Oh my gosh. So that'd been about 74.
Yep.
And he was not created by Stan Lee, but he greenlit the name and everything. They actually came to him, Jerry Conway, and John Romita Sr. and Ross Andrew, they were the two artists on it, and Jerry Conway was the writer for the series. So they all co-created him and brought him to life. And Stan Lee greenlit the name and everything and got him started.
Which started him off as the Vietnam era.
Yes. This was what is Fall of Saigon was 73. So his whole backstory was he was in the Marine Corps. He was Force Recon Scout Sniper.
Yep.
And he gets out of the war. He's seen and done terrible things in that conflict, and he's finally home with his family. And I'll let you take over from here, buddy.
Well, not only that, they came back, later in I think it was in the 90s series when his comics were actually going downhill. They actually canceled them in like the mid 90s, but they brought him back, gave him a little more backstory, and it kind of showed in the first Civil War, Captain America helped train Frank before he even, when he was, in recruitment training. That's why that's really the only real hero he respects and listens to. But as far as Frank himself goes, yes, he's brutal. He's so tactitious. He's great at everything. He goes after the little guys for the most part. You know what I mean? He does the dirty stuff nobody else will do. He'll break into, a mob drug warehouse that's full of $60 million and another $100 million worth of drugs. He's not planning on taking anybody in to get arrested.
No.
He's there to kill everybody, and he burns the place down.
Yeah, that's
that's just the person he is. But like I said, a lot, even where it started, like you said, with his family, being witnesses, to the murder for the mafia, and then getting, massacred, at the New York park, and it took all of his training and everything else to the next level, and he's only learned more and more since he started his path.
Oh yeah, he has evolved and adapted and become so much more brutal, because it's weird with the psychology of soldiers. So many of them can handle what they see, what they do to a degree, but there's always that, there's that one little thing that kind of takes them over the edge, and it kills a part of them inside. Eventually you have to be able to shut off that part of human nature that says, this is a fellow human being. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to kill them. And that's just to get into soldiering. That's what they, break you from in basic training. If
Correct.
You're going to go infantry or anything like that, that's what they break you from. And still you have guys who do those things and they come back with post-traumatic stress disorder. They're damaged in a way. And this is not to, I'm not saying this is a way to cast any aspersions on soldiers, Marines, anyone who serves in that capacity. All the respect in the world for you. I love you to death, man. Thank you for what you do. Straight up. Thank you to the soldiers, Marines.
I've lost friends from PTSD. You know what I mean? No, all the respect in the world to all of our men and women fighting. But like I said, Frank,
he hit
just seeing your wife and kids get murdered right in front of your eyes. It's gonna make something tick in your head, and it ticked the wrong way for all the bad guys.
Yes it did, and that was it's really horrific. And to give a little context, some of the younger folks who may listen to this, they may not understand, and we're not like from the 70s or anything like that. I was born in 90 myself. I'm 29 years old, so I'm not like some old geezer or anything. But I read enough history and I know enough about things to to say that back in the 70s, New York was a horrible place. Like it's got moderately bad crime now in comparison to
No, but
like out in the
it
country.
was Mafia ran.
It was.
I mean, it was.
It genuinely was. You had a ton of crime. You did not like in the 40s and 50s. You could sleep in Central Park and nothing would happen to you. In the 70s, you did not stay in Central Park for more than a few minutes in broad daylight without the chance of something happening to you. Like it was that bad.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. You were told by your governor there, do not go there after the sun goes down.
Yeah, no, no, that's a big no. But and that's exactly right. And this was 74 February 74 when he came out, and then they gave him the backstory and everything later on of how he came to be the Punisher, and it really made a fantastic character. They did.
And like I said, it's not just the character, development that they did for him. It's the fact that he is still completely human.
Mm-hmm.
He has no superhuman abilities whatsoever. He is so tactically genius on everything he does. That's just really what draws me in. Is that he has no extra boost from anything except his intelligence and what he learned, you know what I mean, being a Marine. And he, like you said, he's adapted over the years to anything new, anything old. And I mean, even in, other storylines where, Rhodey supposedly died, he got the War Machine suit.
Right.
Oh, I love that series. And then, Rhodey didn't die. It was a fake death. And then when they come back to take the suit back, Punisher says, no, go fuck yourself. I'm leaving. And takes on the Avengers multiple times with just a War Machine suit. I mean, the guy's insane. And in Secret Wars was one of my favorite storylines with the Punisher. He crashes the Kingpin's viewing party, and it's an incursion between Earth 616 and 1610.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he tells everybody there when he jumps in there that he doesn't plan on taking them in, and he has something to do with all of his bullets. They all die. And it's just like, that's the Punisher. That's what he does. He doesn't give villains a second chance to break out of prison and come back and do more harm. He ends them right where they are. That way they don't get back up.
Right. Yeah, that's he's so final with what he does, and that's the thing that is so cool about him, because like Batman, I only have one rule. And all he'll do is beat somebody up and throw them in Arkham or Blackgate, and it's like, oh, they broke out after a week in custody. Who will save us? Oh, Batman, come on! And
I've only fought the Joker 17,000 times, but I end up winning though.
It's like at that point, I'm kind of thinking, I think Batman only throws him in there because he knows if he handled him, permanently, he'd get bored. But it's not a matter of, oh, I have to be better than you, I can't fall to your level. No, it's I gotta have something to do on a weekend. I don't like going out and partying. It's all a front, But
and that's one thing, if anybody listening has ever read, of course, the DC Marvel crossovers.
Oh, yes,
Punisher fought Batman, and of course, Batman won. Which I kind of get, but then again, they really didn't give Punisher his dues, because when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, he knows a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got all his training from the Marines Corps, Force Reconnaissance, the Airborne School, the Navy SEALs, the Australian Special Air Service Regiment. he knows, Chin-Na, Hawa, Rangdo, Krav Maga, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Ninjutsu, Shorin Ryu Karate, and Sims, or what is it?
Oh,
Simstima.
Sistema?
Yes, Simstima. Yes.
Sistema Combatia? Yes. The
Yes.
freaking Russian martial
Yes.
art.
Yes. And he is, the best at all those, just as Batman is. And it really didn't give him his due. I do believe Batman would beat him one-on-one in hand-to-hand combat.
Sure.
But if the Punisher, if Frank Castle knew about Batman and he wanted to kill him, he could do it.
Yes.
All he would do was just do his reconnaissance, find out he's Bruce Wayne, wait till he gets out of a limo and blow his head off from 2 miles away.
Yes.
I mean, that's exactly what the Punisher would do.
Yes.
That's who he is.
Without doubt. And it's
that's just who he is.
And you're so right on with that, and the thing is, he's not some insane mad gunman.
No, not at all. And even Captain America understands that, and Thor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thor has sat him down in the comics before and brought him a 6-pack of beer just to talk with him about what he's doing. Didn't punish him, didn't do anything. Just sat there and talked with him about, what you're doing is wrong, but I get it.
Yeah.
Just, I want you to think about it, about the repercussions of it.
Right.
And it gets to Frank, but it still doesn't change his perception on what he has to do.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. Frank Castle is a psychopath, but he's not psychotic. He knows what he's doing is wrong and on a social level. He understands
Absolutely.
Trial,
Absolutely.
punishment, all that. He gets that. He doesn't care.
But he looks long term. He doesn't.
Exactly
he doesn't want to give them second chances.
Right.
And even Captain America goes to that level at points. He kills bad guys all the time.
Yes.
Because he knows, like this guy, he can't live, or else we're gonna have to deal with him again. Mm-hmm. And Frank just, the thing about Frank is he does that with everybody. It's but like I said, he most of the time he deals with more low level, big drug cartels, mafia, stuff like that. And every now and then, he gets thrown into bigger, tie-ins on bigger wars. And speaking of wars, the Civil War, the first one. If you haven't read it, please go read the entire series. It's great front to back. But as Spider-Man realizes, after revealing his identity and joining Tony Stark's side, he realizes that he messed up, that they're doing the wrong thing. And he put all his family and everything in jeopardy and tried to escape. And they send bad guys after him that they hired, while he's trying to escape in the sewer. And the one man that saves him is the Punisher. And the Punisher likes Spider-Man because that's the first character, like I said, he appeared in and became his friend. Mm-hmm. I mean, Spider-Man talked the Punisher into using rubber bullets when he first appeared. He was the menace to Spider-Man, and then they realized they were going after the same person, and Spider-Man said, you're not going to shoot him with real bullets. You have to use rubber bullets. Yeah. And he did. And that also speaks on his marksmanship. He is one of, I can say, maybe 2 people who's ever actually hit Spider-Man with a bullet. Mm-hmm. Considering his spider sense, that's near impossible. And that shows you the marksmanship that he has and the intelligence that he has, on being able to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I said, and it just all comes back to he is a human being with no extra power.
Yes.
Except willpower and power through pain.
Amen. And you're dead on with that. The power through pain. He utilizes his own pain and inflicting pain on others to get so much done and to push himself beyond what his limits should be, even being as drilled and well trained as he is, and how he's trained and pushed himself, but to go beyond even his own limits, using that pain as kind of like a cattle prod for himself, it's sickening to a degree, but it's freaking crazy as all hell to read.
Yes, I mean it's insane. He can have a broken leg and a broken arm and a bullet wound to his shoulder and a crushed sternum from his vest being shot so many times. And then all the bad guys are surrounding him. I mean, the Netflix series really did hit the nail on the head with this. And, he gets that surge, just that, all right, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die fighting.
Exactly.
And the worst part for them is he knows how to fight with any kind of weapon, not just guns or knives, anything. He can do it all. And you just got to have nothing but respect for the guy.
Honestly, amazing freaking character, and they did such a great job. He's so wicked, dude. He's so freaking epic. He's kind of like, when you look at him and you really break the Punisher down, he's kind of like a dark mirror to Batman.
Yes. It's just, instead of the kill rule, or that not kill rule, he has the kill rule.
Yeah. He's extremely skilled in hand-to-hand combat, not to the point where Batman is, but because Batman doesn't kill, or has that rule nowadays. I mean, back in the day, yeah, he killed. In Frank Miller comics, he'd kill if he had to. But having that to where you're training your body and everything to be the weapon, and you want to do non-lethal stuff, yeah, you're going to be a better martial artist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If it was a kind of run and gun deal, the Punisher there's not a weapon he could put his hands on that he does not know how to use to its most lethal point.
Exactly. I mean, just like I brought up at the beginning, when he got the War Machine suit.
Oh God,
he knew exactly how to use it, and like I said, he took on the Avengers multiple times trying to take it back. And they couldn't. They got close, but he always has the backup plan if he knows he's about to get beat, to get away.
Yes.
Like, they had him surrounded one time, in the building, had his suit all torn to shit. And they're like, all right, give up. Give us the suit. And he's like, nope. And he blew the entire building up. And he had a trap door that he fell in and got out.
Yeah.
That's the Punisher. He thinks ahead. Like, he's so good at infiltration, and things like that, and just his strategy. That's what makes him so great to me. It's, he's not just a brutal murderer.
No.
Like, what he does, I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff he does, of course, I mean, on a, normal human's level, yeah, it's completely wrong. But after you, learn and see what pushed him to that limit, and then, where he became, even after he just killed after he got the mafia who killed his family, he realized, all right, all these bigger heroes, they're not going to do this little dirty work. They think the cops are going to do it. So he took things into his own hands.
Yep. And I mean, that's what I wanted to talk about too, was, you just said it perfectly. The cops weren't going to do it. He wasn't going to get justice through the law. He had to take it into his own hands. So there has been a little bit of controversy with, like, police officers slapping the Punisher emblem on their cruisers and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell somebody not to do that, but the Punisher is what happens when the law fails.
Correct.
If you're representing the law as an officer of it,
right, even though they always have the blue stripe on there,
yeah,
which I do, I'm all for Blue Lives Matter 100%, but you're putting out a negative vibe that, people who know who the Punisher are, or, not even know who the Punisher, is, but know what that meaning is and where it comes from a murderer that's in comics. They're going to be labeled as that.
Yeah, it's
Now, as a fear tactic for like the Marines or the Army or anybody in
yes.
armed forces, I 100% get it.
Absolutely, yes.
You know what I mean? But as it comes to cops, yeah, I do not think they should be adapting that, especially not putting it on their cars.
No, that's absolutely. I think it's a little foolish. Like I said, I'm not going to tell anyone not to do it. It's a free country, and I respect that right. It makes you seem kind of daft to me. Makes me think. Makes me think you didn't quite think that through all the way. Of exactly who the Punisher is. And we've got a quote here, and it's from Punisher 12, Punisher Volume 12, number 13. And Frank, he comes across these two cops who are big fans of his, and they like take a selfie with him, and then they point out that they have a decal of his logo on their car, and then they talk about their work and his work and work, quote unquote, for him. Um, and he rips the sticker off. He rips the decal off, and he kind of yells at him. He's like, "I'll say this once: we're not the same. You took an oath to uphold the law. You help people. I gave that up a long time ago. You don't do what I do. Nobody does. You boys need a role model. His name's Captain America, and he'd be happy to have you." And then he threatens him straight up. He's like, if I find out you're doing what I do, it's like, you're next on my list.
Exactly. He knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the very few people he respects would be Spider-Man, because he knows he's a kid, and he's kind of the one that I wouldn't say changed him, but changed his perception a little bit. Captain America, of course, because he's the epitome of America, and he helped train him. And who was you just said? I'm sorry, my mind just went blank. Oh, my bad. You didn't say Daredevil.
Yes.
Because Daredevil's got the same qualities. He doesn't want to kill, but he will if he has to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he respects what he's doing, but when it comes down to it, just like they've shown in the Netflix series, you hit them, they get back up. I hit them, they stay down.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, and he's willing to do what no one else is. And that's just, and like you said, Cap, he'll kill people if he has to, but Cap's a soldier.
Right.
Just like Frank's a soldier. But Frank sees anyone doing wrong, as far as, like supervillainy and stuff like that, as a tango, as an enemy. And he's still got, rules of engagement, rules of war in his mind. You don't put the enemy in prison, you kill the enemy. He's a Marine through and through.
They're right. Exactly. That way they can't get out of prison and come back and keep doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
That's why, it's not like he kills everybody that's in the mafia or anything. He kills the murderers. He kills the rapists. Yes. He kills the drug dealers who are, selling the drugs that are killing other people and killing this nation. Yes. He does have some sort of purpose of, what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Oh, yeah. And he'll take on any criminal, but guys who aren't responsible for death, he just usually messes them up pretty good. He doesn't kill them.
Oh yeah, he'll break both their legs, get his information, and then be on his way.
Yeah, but he hunts killers. He's a killer of killers, and that's exactly what he is.
And that will bring me to the next Punisher subject that I always love. Punisher kills the Marvel Universe. Which I believe was done twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know they did a Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. It's kind of like a rip-off parody, kind of paying homage to it.
Yes, I remember reading that one. Yeah, but like I said, the Punisher kills the Marvel Universe. great comic. I mean, you just he's so genius about everything he does. I mean, the first thing he does is he goes out. He goes to what's Doctor Doom's continent?
Latveria.
Latveria. Yes. Kills the real Doctor Doom and takes all his equipment. He finds a nuclear bomb. It was like, all right, I got an idea. Sends a message to all the X-Men. Sends a message to all the other evil X-Men and mutants and everybody else to say, hey, we're going to fight this out. You're threatening us. Let's do this on the moon. Nobody gets hurt. Well, they all show up. And they're like, well, you told us to be here. Like, well, no, you sent us the note to be here. And you hear, oh. And then it shows Frank Castle with a pair of binoculars looking at the moon with a button. Click. Blows up the moon.
Like, how?
Kills every Omega level mutant and lower in one blow.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
Like I said, catches Wolverine in Japan, and Wolverine tells him, he's like, yeah, I know what's been happening. I've been waiting on you. And Punisher's like, well, you know what's about to happen. And Wolverine's like, no, it's not. Well, he ends up getting him to a fence, putting up about 10 million plus volts to him, melting his skin, and it is so hot, he's tied down to it, and he tells him, he's like, look, this is going to go on for about 3 or 4 months. Eventually your metal's going to get so hot it's going to melt. You're going to die. Bye. I mean, he figures, no heroes, no villains. He kills everybody. No heroes, no villains. Nobody, no innocents can get hurt anymore.
Yeah.
And he's just so smart about what he does.
Oh, it's freaking probably one of the most entertaining one-shots Marvel's ever done. It's just, some people are like, oh, it completely defies belief that he'd be able to do this. I'm like, I'm sorry? Defies belief. You're reading a comic book, first of all.
Not just that. It's like, that's the last person everybody in the Marvel Universe would think would do that.
Right.
And he's smart enough to pull it off. I mean, he was smart enough to go after Doctor Doom first because Doctor Doom is the, baddest of the bad.
Yeah.
Besides, I would say Thanos, I guess, or, some of the Celestials and stuff. But, on Earth and everything, Doom is it.
Yeah.
After taking out Doom, he got all his equipment and used everything he had to take out the rest of the entire Marvel Universe, and succeeded.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Without firing many bullets at all.
No, it's like when he killed early on, like when he was first getting rolling, and Microchip was first helping him out. Like when he kills Spider-Man and Venom when they're fighting each other, like they're down in the sewers and everything. He freaking traps them down there.
Yep.
And kills them off like that.
And he hated killing Spider-Man. He did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he knew what he had to do.
That's right. That was the big thing. I mean, his family gets killed in a fight between, the Avengers, X-Men, the weird xenomorph looking alien. They kind of look like the Hydralisk from StarCraft. The Brood.
The Brood, yeah.
Yeah, and, the other thingamabobs. And it's like, that's it, man. That switch flipped. It's such a good story. It's so hilarious. And and it was like you were saying, it was done twice. They reprinted it, and it's been in a it's like they've had it in a bunch of like trade paperbacks and stuff like that. You know, different Punisher volumes. They'll like put it at the back as a little bonus and everything, and it's just fantastic. It's freaking. Oh, he's so brutal. He's so ridiculously brutal, and I really do. I don't know what universe they've got this numbered at, but I think it would be honestly pretty cool if they'd revisit it and like have another one shot or something like that where you've got people who kind of do Frank Castle's job in that universe. Like they're all they're doing is they're policing superheroes and villains. If anybody starts getting uppity, you know, almost like a cult of Castle, if you will.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. That would be great. And that's another thing about Frank Castle is he does that when heroes start getting out of hand and taking their powers into their own control, and saying what they're doing is right and he knows wrong, that or he knows is wrong. He puts them in their place. He doesn't kill them. He beats them and tells them, "Look, if you do this again, I'll put this bullet through your head."
Yes.
And you know what they do? They don't do it again.
No. They know what's good for them. They don't. It's the ultimate chastisement. It's like, oh, I'm a superpowered being and I just got my ass handed to me by this normal dude wearing a weird ass, cat suit and freaking pouches all over him, and he's got a skull on his chest, drawing attention to his bulletproof vest he's got on under everything. It's like, shit.
That's why he draws a skull for fearness, and he draws it on his chest because that's the most plated part of his body, and that's where he wants people to aim.
That's exactly right. It draws attention right to it.
Right to it, exactly. Like I said, and that's just basic smart instincts, when it comes to the, kind of warfare and combat that he enters.
Exactly. He's no psychotic. Like, and
no,
that's
he really isn't.
He is a psychopath. He's not psychotic. He knows what he's doing. He understands that other people will think it's wrong. He doesn't care. It's a job he believes has to be done, and it needs to be done right, and he's the only one that can do it. And it's, that's his shtick. That's his thing.
Yep. And I will say this, anybody listening who has read the Marvel Universe, the Zombie edition, one of my favorites with the Punisher, because, he doesn't get infected. And somebody will bring up later is Deadpool. Deadpool does get infected, but he's still Deadpool because, of course, he can't die. And he even states, I've killed this guy over 36 times. And the last time I killed him, I chopped him up, buried him, miles apart, his body pieces miles apart, all over, Manhattan. And then he was just randomly walking by one of the grave sites, and it was dug up. Yeah. And then a couple pages later, you just hear, Frankie. And of course, the number one source, Deadpool kind of helps him, and number one source ends up being Spider-Man. Yeah. Which, of course, Spider-Man he likes and he didn't want to kill, but he had to. But I just thought it was hilarious. He's like, I've killed this son of a bitch 36 plus times, and he keeps coming back.
I just want to say the other versions they've had of the Punisher, like with the Marvel Zombies Punisher, like Marvel Noir,
or even the new or the newer, Thanos, alternate universe where he becomes Ghost Rider.
Right.
After Thanos gets the snap off, and then he goes to, beat Thanos. Mm. Well, then he runs into the Silver Surfer. Beats the Silver Surfer with the power of the Ghost Rider. Takes the power cosmic. So he's a cosmic Ghost Rider. And by this time, he has so much power, and so much just insanity going on. By the time he gets to Thanos, Thanos is like, "Hey, you just want to, work for me and just kill all you want?" Punisher's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
I mean that that is one. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't think of one character that could stop a cosmic Ghost Rider Punisher. Not
It's.
even Marvel or DC Universe. I cannot think of one.
I mean, it's.
I mean, even Thanos knew he couldn't. That's why he talked him into working with him. I mean, that tells you everything. I mean, all the DC fanboys can come at me with Superman Prime, whatever. I'm sorry, Cosmic Ghost Rider Punisher. No,
It's so
it,
freaking epic.
it's too OP. I mean, it really is. Like, there's nothing that can compare. And it's just so funny too. Like I said, but just all the power he gets, and just how just brutal he is, and with all that power, it just makes him go literally insane. And that's the only reason Thanos was able to, talk him into saying, "Hey, well, you're here to kill me. How about you just work for me, and we'll kill everybody else." While he's got Hulk on a leash.
Oh man.
It's just so fantastic. Like I said, he's just a great character, a great story, does the dirty work, knows what he's doing, and has no regret about what he's doing. And like I said, he's always been my favorite. I mean, I can't deny it. And the main reason is not just because his backstory; it's because he is completely human. He uses instincts, tactics, and intelligence to do what he does, and he does it best. All he has to know who he's going after, and he will find a way to beat him, and he will have two backup plans to beat him again or escape to get ready to beat him again.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what makes him so great to me.
Absolutely. So we've got him talked about as far as like the comic mythology and everything else. Let's talk about movies and series, shall we? Now they had the early one like 89 or 90, way back in the day, with Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren, yeah.
And we'll move on past that. Like it was interesting. It's not good. I wouldn't say it was definitely interesting, but I couldn't recommend it as a watch for me. Like, watch this movie. I can't do it because it had so much bad. It was a great concept. It was just executed so poorly.
It was, but it was also, I mean, the 80s.
Yeah, weird.
And their budget was shit on that movie. And so they had nothing to work with except the big Russian guy from Rocky IV.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's exactly
literally
right.
it.
That was it. Ivan Drago as the Punisher. Good job. But then we got to 04, I think.
03.
03, 04? Anyways, yeah. So let's say 03. And we had
Thomas Jane.
Oh my God. What a freaking movie. Like,
dude, I'm sorry. People down that movie. Like, I've talked to people that down that movie. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, yes, they altered the storyline. You know what I mean? How his family got killed and stuff. But it wasn't just his wife and kids. It was his entire family.
Everybody. And, like, the whole thing with him being an NYPD cop, like, that's just... Or a Miami cop.
No. He was an FBI agent.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He was a FBI agent, but it still showed him that he had former SEAL training,
right.
and special forces
he was
stuff.
Still former military. It was kind of like a blend of the original and the Ultimate Universe Punisher, but with some extra stuff thrown in.
Right.
And it was really awesome the way they did it. And, John Travolta honestly did a pretty good job as the main bad guy.
He did a great job.
Very menacing, very, he could be your best friend or your worst enemy. It was up to you.
And just the storyline of how he interrupted, all his business plans and it just everything. He made him kill his best friend. He made him kill his wife. I mean, it's just amazing. And then, of course, the famous line at the end, he's like, you killed my son. And then you hear, no. Both of them. That's where you're just in the back going, oh, thug life. Just overall, you got to give it to him. Just a great movie.
And that fight in the apartments, I guess you call it really tenements, with the big Russian.
Oh yes, the wrestler.
Oh yeah, that dude.
And that shows you pain for power.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Pain for power. A little note of trivia. I think that dude who played the Russian. Do you remember The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler and everybody? And who drank all the damn Gatorade? And, they switched out the dude's testosterone pills with the estrogen pills.
That was him.
Yep.
Like I said, he was a WWE wrestler. Mm-hmm. I can't think of his name right now, but yes, that was him.
Odds are probably dead now. So many of them are, sadly. Don't do steroids, kids.
No, he's still alive.
Oh, is he? Okay.
So, Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash. Okay. Oh, man.
Took me a sec to think of it. Yes, Kevin Nash.
My point still stands. Don't do steroids, kids.
If you do, just a little bit.
Just a little. You want to cut, not build. That's the way you want to go. We're going to get banned.
Yeah, probably.
We're going to get shut down.
But anywho.
Yeah.
Then we had the 2008 Warzone movie. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we don't even have to talk about that.
I would recommend Dolph Lundgren Punisher before I recommended Punisher Warzone. Like, that's so bad. Moving right along, the Punisher series with John Bernthal.
Okay. Daredevil Season 2 with his intro.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. It was amazing.
It was so good, dude.
It was amazing.
It was absolutely wicked.
I mean...
and all the little moments. Not even, the big fights between, Red and Punisher. But just the little things like showing the x-ray of his skull. And it was pretty much the Punisher symbol.
Right, with a bullet hole in it.
Yes.
And I love how they built that up. And then at the end, he found that vest and he made it into that because he's like, that's what I am now. That's what I'm going to become. Mm-hmm. And it really showed his ruthlessness, At that point, that was right after his family got killed. Yes. So he didn't care.
Still very fresh.
He wasn't going to kill Daredevil / Red. That's why he just tied him up. He's just like, look, I'm doing what I'm doing. You're getting in my way. Mm-hmm. Stop it. If I wanted to kill you, I could kill you.
Yes. And I'll say this. In response to Razor Fist, I love your stuff, man. I really do. It's fantastic. I highly doubt you'll ever listen to this. But if you do, please know I have the greatest respect for what you do. And you're awesome. But when it comes to Daredevil should have won against the Punisher, I understand where you're coming from. Daredevil is a super athlete. He is an exceptional martial artist. In many respects, yeah, maybe he should have wiped the floor with the Punisher, or at least gotten the better of him in the fight. Rage, pure, unfiltered hatred flowing through someone's veins will make you an absolute fucking monster.
Again, power through pain.
Power through pain. Frank was not going to, no matter how many times Matt Murdock put him down, Frank would not have stopped getting back up. He would have beaten Daredevil through pure attrition. Daredevil would have worn down. Yeah, Daredevil would have worn his hands down to little stumpy nubs before Frank Castle stopped trying to beat him.
You just look at the part where the Irish mob had him tied up and they're drilling through his thigh, they're drilling through his feet. They're beating him to death, and then Daredevil shows up. And he won't let him kill anybody, and he still, just grabs a hammer, is beating the shit, been shot at, and still makes it out of there. And like I said, nothing against Daredevil. He did help him, like I said, at the very end, limp him out there. They had the whole graveyard scene, which was to me, very touching scene. It kind of gave Daredevil an insight, to who the Punisher actually was. And that's why he ultimately, wanted to represent him, as Matt Murdock, in his case. But another part of that series, though, come on, the prison fight scene.
Oh my god, dude! One of the best choreographed fight scenes in anything ever. I'm talking like kung fu epics like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Five Venom. Nothing, in my opinion, is as awesome as the prison fight scene with Frank Castle. It's just so brutal, dude.
Oh, no, it's just so epic. And then, Kingpin's watching, and he's just like, okay, can't kill this guy. I'm going to use him.
Yeah. Change of plans.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. It's just so. And like I said, the Punisher, the first series on Netflix, I love both of them, but I absolutely love the first one. They set everything up nicely, for a lot of his storyline and all that from beginning to end. And then when it came to the second series, the beginning was great. I really didn't like where they took, Russo, his buddy, to turn into Jigsaw. I'd say about the last, 5 episodes or so, it really threw it off.
Yeah, it did. It
like I saw the story they were going for with it being his best friend, ex, Marine, special ops guy, so he knows the stuff kind of Frank knows. He's just not as brutal, but it really kind of threw me off on that.
Yeah.
But I still love the series. Like I said, especially the first 5-6 episodes are just amazing, from the bar scene to the jail scenes and all those fight scenes. It's just awesome. He's just sitting there telling them while they're getting shot at. He's like, look, if you don't let me out of these handcuffs, we're all going to die. And he's already got a hand that's in a cast and still ends up killing everybody. That just shows it. They really hit the personification of who Frank Castle is, and John Bernthal nailed it. And I know, he said online, it was a pleasure playing the Punisher, on the Netflix series, blah, blah, blah. But if they were to bring him into the MCU now, or even on their streaming service, they need to keep Bernthal.
Agreed.
He nailed it to the top. He's an Italian American. He looked the part. He acted the part. He had the attitude. His grunts, his facial expressions.
Oh,
he nailed everything.
And that was the thing. It was all the little stuff that sold it for me. It's just all the things that Bernthal did acting as Frank Castle. Just little micro twitches and stuff like. It's really weird Like, I love watching people who are super into the roles. They become the character. When the cameras are rolling, they're that person. There's no distinction. There's no, I'm doing a part. No, it's, I'm going to kill you and everyone you know. And as soon as it's like, cut, it's like, all right, holy shit, I got to remember who I am. You know, that kind of acting style.
Yeah, exactly. And I even saw one interview with Bernthal where he was talking about shooting the first scenes, you know, like the bar fight scenes and stuff in season 2. And one of the very first scenes he shot, he broke his hand and didn't tell anybody. And they were doing all these reshoots and everything, and he was having to pick up stools with this broke hand and throw, and bad guys were taking his hand down and smashing it, you know, when he had a knife in it. He said by the end of it, he had, you know, 3 or 4 broken bones, like 4 torn ligaments. You know, everything was torn up, and it really shows the grit that he actually really had to even do those scenes. Like it's just amazing to me,
He was
hearing that.
straight up Frank Castle, power through pain, man.
He really did,
He
you know.
embodied it.
And he also talks about, you know, when he was doing Daredevil season 2 and also the Punisher season 1, where he literally would isolate himself. It would be him and his dog. Weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to get into his character.
Oh gosh.
Yes. Yes, like he took it to heart and he loved playing it though, is what is what he said. And then he also said in the interview talking about his hand that he would love to do it again and he hopes he does.
Yeah.
And I honestly hope he does. I don't see anybody else out there who could do it better Frank Castle right now.
I don't either. I genuinely don't. And I'll say this to Thomas Jane, great outing in the fan film he did. I think it was Laundry Day. Was the name?
Yes, with Ron Perlman.
Yes.
That was great with the bottle of Jack.
Yes, super well done.
That
Good
was
job.
Fantastic.
I was so impressed at the quality of that, and that was probably what. Few tens of thousands of dollars, including paying Jane and Perlman.
Oh, maybe.
I mean,
it had been so long for Jane. He probably did it pro bono.
Yeah, just for fun. Dude, I would. Are you kidding me? Get the chance to play a classic character again, even if it's just for something small. Hell yeah!
Right.
It's like, you ain't got to pay me. Just put it up on YouTube and let me watch it all I want.
Yeah. It's only got 100 million views.
Yeah, But super awesome. But John Bernthal, to me, is the Punisher.
Grade A Punisher.
He is
Frank
Castle.
That is Frank Castiglione right there. To the T. Like, he embraced it phenomenally.
Talking about people who absolutely nailed their characters and redefined them, became them. Let's talk about Blade and Wesley Snipes for a minute. We won't spend as much time on them because Blade's got kind of a weird history. Like when
his attitude has changed. Like his persona has changed multiple times.
Yes.
Unlike, the Punisher, who's stayed pretty much exactly the same through all the, 45, 44 years he's been out.
Mm-hmm.
Blade has changed, but he is a great, great anti-hero.
He really is. He's super cool. He came out in 73. Yeah, July of 1973.
Right.
So
Eric Brooks.
Yeah. Yep. And he started off, it was kind of a call out to blaxploitation films of the period and everything, and it's super funny. But he had a long history. He was in a bunch of stuff, but kind of like a bit character for a really long time. it's just it's so weird. He has had such a spotty character.
Yeah, but I mean, they brought him in because the only really like predominant black character they had back then was Black Panther,
Yes.
and he had just came out, not long before him. And when they introduced, the Dracula in the comics,
Yeah.
that's when Blade was thrown in there. In the what was it? The Tomb of Dracula, number 10, is what I'm seeing right here.
Yeah, and it's really weird. He's born Eric Brooks, born in a whorehouse in London, England, Soho. Um, he's he's half vampire because his mother was bitten while she was going into labor and everything. Like she was giving birth to him and then she was bitten. But that kind of made him like half vampire, I guess, or quasi vampire. It's kind of spotty and weird.
It is, but I mean, to simplify it, I mean, he's got all their strengths and only one of their weaknesses.
Yes, exactly right. He only suffers from the thirst. That's it. He's immortal. He isn't harmed by the sun, garlic, silver, none of it. The only thing he has from them that is an inherent flaw is he has to drink blood. Or, like in the movies, a substitute. So we probably won't stay on the comics too much again. It's kind of weird. The comic version of Blade really kind of changed after the movies.
Dramatically.
You had the huge surge of popularity with Blade in the movies. When the first one came out, it was like 97 or 98. So it was a couple of years before X-Men came out. And honestly, Blade was the first big success for Marvel. Because it was a $45 million budget, and they made like $150 million. Matter of fact, I want to look this up because that was big.
With the inflation, that would be the equivalent of probably about 500 million.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. That's a huge freaking success. Unfortunately, this was when Marvel had kind of sold their rights to everybody because they were going bankrupt, and they only made like $10,000 off of freaking Blade. So kind of a moment. Just let me swallow this bullet, please, and let me die in peace.
But I'll give it to Wesley Snipes. He nailed it.
Oh, absolutely. He was so cool. I remember seeing that movie and I was a kid. And, this was actually a few years before we met, Smed.
Oh, yeah.
And the first time I saw it, I was in California visiting my mom. I think it was 99 when I saw it because I was still a kid. But visiting my mother who was stationed over there in San Diego the first time, and my then stepdad, it was kind of a money marriage thing just to be able to live off base. He had it and he let me watch it on VHS. It was awesome. I have never been so entranced by a freaking movie up to that point, and I freaking loved it because Wesley Snipes, he was the epitome of cool. He was taking down vampires. When he killed one, they like turned into ash and exploded, and it was
and he had the greatest one-liners.
Oh my god.
He really did.
He absolutely did. It was like, to me, it was like an 80s action movie, a blaxploitation film, and a horror movie all got together and created this super crazy, like Captain Planet, our powers combined super thing. And it was just so freaking awesome to see. It was so neat. And
yeah, I mean, it was a great plot, a great story. Like I said, great actor Wesley Snipes just absolutely nailed the character. He changed it to his persona, but his persona was just seemed perfect for it. Like I said, it comes to the story, about his, he knew about his mother and everything, and then he ended up actually having to kill her and everything. I mean, that just shows the dedication he had to what he needed to do to kill the vampires.
Yeah. Yeah. And can we talk about something here? This thing was written by David S. Goyer, who later went on to write the Christopher Nolan Batman films. This dude gets it. No more campy, bright, oh, this world is so crazy and amazing because these heroes live in it. No, Blade had a world that was so similar to ours, we could relate to it, but just different enough to where this stuff would make sense. Like you could see this happening. Like you could believe there was a hidden world of vampires that secretly pulled the strings on everything. Like that was what was so damn good about it. And dude,
Right. It's something that you could think about that really could happen. You know what I mean? Like, everything's behind the scenes,
yep,
but really, you know, in a human perspective, you're like, damn, that really could happen. It makes you relate, to the
yes,
movie, kind of.
yes, it really it lets you get into it. It lets you kind of experience that in a way that you wouldn't be able to if it was done like Superman was back in the 70s and all that. And especially not like Howard the Duck. But we won't discuss that. Which honestly, I'll say it right now. With the way the MCU's done for the past 11 years, you could probably put out an MCU Howard the Duck movie and it would make $1 billion.
I mean, come on. He was in Endgame. He showed up at the end fight scene with gun in hand against Thanos and his army. I mean, come on.
Freaking hilarious, man. Absolutely hilarious. But yeah, so Blade, it's super forward for its time, man. I mean, black main character who was an absolute badass. You had a black supporting female character who was not a love interest, and she saves the main character, the superhero's life, twice over the course of the movie. Like, it's everything about the film just makes me happy. Like, there's nothing I dislike about Blade. And then Blade 2 comes out.
Oh,
Freaking 2002. Ah, directed by Guillermo del Toro. I'm a huge del Toro fanboy, I will absolutely admit. Devil's Backbone, freaking Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, the Hellboy movies. Like, I'm all over it, dude. I love his work. Kronos, it's all good to me. I enjoy everything. And I really wish he'd do the frickin', Beyond the Mountains of Madness, kind of a Call of Cthulhu movie. I want to see some frickin' tentacle-faced monsters here. But, I really love, really love Blade 2.
I mean, yeah, again, another great plot, great story, just all around awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it really, and all the extra great actors they had in there.
Oh my God! Of course, you had Chris Christopherson playing Whistler from the first movie, and Chris Christopherson, number one, great country singer. Number two, awesome actor. He's entertaining in whatever he's in. Then you had Ron Perlman, freaking Norman Reedus. I mean, like what? What?
It's not a dud.
Oh man. You had freaking Donnie Yen. Like if you're a kung fu movie nerd like I am, then yeah, Donnie Yen, freaking ridiculous. I think his full name's Donnie Yen Jidan. But just awesome little stuff like that. Like
he's the IP man.
Yeah, he's Ip Man. Yep. Exactly right. He's Ip Man. And I mean, there's just so many like little throw ins and stuff, and that's what I like about Del Toro. He doesn't just get the big name actors, he gets people from all these other different things to come in and do his movies, and it's all like little nods to different things because he's got such an eclectic, like, I guess you could say, friend base, as far as, people he's worked with on little projects, and he's made friends with at events and stuff like that, and he's like, why don't you come into my next movie? It's like, you Mexican master, you. Oh man. But I thought the Reaper virus thing was super cool. Nisa, as again, no love interest, not in the sense of, hey, we're gonna bang at the end of the movie, but there was that respect between Nisa and Blade that was really awesome.
Yeah, because they specified at the beginning, it's like, what have y'all been training to do? It's like, well, we've been training to kill you.
Yes. Exactly.
And then through the movie, it shows the respect between both of them, and she realized who Blade is, and what he's doing and what his purpose is. Yeah. And once it comes around that it was her brother that was the next evolution and the pretty much virus to the vampire nation. No. She kind of took his side.
Yeah.
Not to the full extent. She sacrificed herself, but just for the better purpose.
Right. And like Luke Goss, he hasn't really done like big stuff. He was the Prince Nuada, I think, in Hellboy 2. Trying to remember that character's name, but yeah, he was the evil elf in Hellboy 2, and so he's kind of a Del Toro buddy with that. But just that I think Nomak or Novak was the character. Nomak, I think. The original, the Patient Zero for the Reaper virus, like all that stuff, it was so wickedly cool. Like, they did such a good job, and Del Toro has just such a great track record of like body horror stuff, transformation and just psychological, oh dear God, I'm gonna go insane if I keep looking at this. It was the perfect matchup, and that's why Blade 2 is the best of the Blade series. Yeah, and it netted over 155 million at the box office, and then home video sales, they were great.
Oh yeah, I bought it.
And critics, of course, they were like, oh, the script is a little lacking and the character development isn't as good as we expect. It's like, look, if you're looking for a great deal of character development from a Del Toro flick, you're in the wrong freaking business. I'm sorry. Just enjoy the spectacle. Enjoy it. Just move on. And then we come to Blade Trinity. To me, the weakest of them.
But was still a good movie. Not great, a good movie.
Yes.
Very much watchable.
Definitely enjoyed it. It didn't net as much as the first two, but
thank you, Ryan Reynolds. I'm sorry, he pretty much played Deadpool as a vampire killer.
Very much. Hannibal King. Yeah, it's It was.
I mean, when he showed up with a name tag that said "fuck you," I was like, yep. There it is.
Yep. Oh boy. This one was directed by David S. Goyer, who wrote the script for the first one. And it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't a bad movie. It's definitely a little weaker. I thought Dominic Purcell was a little bit of an odd choice to play somebody who's supposed to be as menacing and terrifying as Dracula. Or Drake, like they called him in the movie. But it just, it didn't seem very menacing to me. I always think of Dracula as like the guy who is going to look you dead in the eyes, tell you he's going to kill you, and you just realize instantly, like, yeah, this is gonna happen no matter how much I fight. This is not good. He just he looks a little too goofy to me for that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've read any of the newer series after it picks up right after Civil War II, against Captain Marvel and Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a fantastic series. Marvel's really been turning it around, and by the series number 3, at the end of 2, they bring in Blade because they realize that in Transylvania, Dracula's castle has been destroyed. Dracula goes to Russia for help, pretty much. They lock him up just to try to get answers and everything else. And the Avengers, who's led by Black Panther at this point, but they still have the original 3, and then Ghost Rider, and so many more. And Blade's like, I'm gonna go, kill Dracula, and they're like, no, we need a game plan as always. And Dracula's actually he's pretty badass. And then at the end of the last one I've read, they give Dracula his sanctum, and his sanctum is Chernobyl, which ends up being Dracula's entire plan.
Oh my god!
And he's got all the lead vampires that he had before meet him there. And like I said, I haven't got the rest of the series yet, but like I said, it's actually very, very good. And Blade is really awesome in that as well. Like I said, he becomes a full-fledged Avenger and helps them.
See, that's pretty epic, and that's what I think of when I think of Dracula, because I remember when I was a kid, I read a run, and it was like the X-Men versus Dracula, and it had Kitty Pryde, Wolverine, Colossus, several of the others, and that Dracula was freaking terrifying. Like, genuinely, like, just raw power where, Wolverine, tried to make a cross with his claws and everything using the middle of each hand. And he just grabs him by the throat and he's like, you have to believe for it to work. And, all that stuff. And, of course, Kitty Pryde, her little Star of David necklace, her pendant falls out and that actually works. And it's like, oh, shit, well, how about that? Jews have hey, get away from me, vampire! But that's what I think of with Dracula. But yeah, the third movie, it was really funny. I'll give it that. Like, some of the lines, the one-liners from everybody, it had Triple H back in the day. Like, it's a little ridiculous, but okay.
Making out with the vampire Pomeranian.
Yeah, just licking him right on the face. Man, that joke. Yeah, it made me giggle, like, extremely, extremely hard. But you're right. With Ryan Reynolds, he was playing pre-Deadpool. Deadpool is a vampire hunter. That's one criticism I have for Ryan Reynolds. He's so fucking funny, and he does so well with funny scripts. Sometimes it can be a bit much. He nails it in Deadpool. He's perfect for it. But certain times where it's not really necessary, where it may be better for him not to have a Whedonism, not to quip in the middle of a really bad situation, he ad-libs on it, and that's exactly what he does. So, my only criticism of the great and wonderful Ryan Reynolds, that's all I have to say. It's the only criticism I'll have of him. But, yeah, freaking Blade 3 was still a fantastic movie, in my opinion. It was still really, really, really entertaining, and I'd recommend the trilogy to anybody. But
absolutely.
We've talked so much about Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. We'll get on to the last third of our freaking our live stream, our podcast here. We're at an hour and 20 minutes, Smed. How about that? That's not too bad.
Not too bad. I mean, it's got nothing on the the Primarks,
but no, very true, very true indeed. That was an epic stream. But yeah, let's talk some Deadpool. Let's talk some WWW. Wade Winston Wilson. And I gotta say this, I hate the Big Bang Theory, but they did bring up the great point with Marvel and alliteration. Like J. Jonah Jameson, Peter Parker, Kurt Connors. So many characters with alliteration in their name. It's like, why? What is... And
no. But when it comes to, Wade Winston Wilson, at first, it started out slower, but because, like you're saying, starts out, pretty much as a bad guy.
Yes.
He's the anti-Wolverine.
Yes. Exactly.
Ex-Special Forces, all the training. Of course, gets, terribly sick, everything else, and then, gets the treatment, but it fucks up his beautiful looks.
Yeah. Pretty fucking bad.
Which makes his humor that much more better.
It really does. I think it's fantastic. He was a part of Weapon X, which is the big project that turned Wolverine into the adamantium-clad beast we all know and love now. And he came into existence. He was created by Rob Liefeld, who can't draw feet. And Fabian Nicieza. Or Nicieza. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. It's weird. I'm sorry. I'm American.
It's Nicieza.
Okay. Good deal. Sorry, I had to take a sip real quick. So Nicieza. And this is like 1991 he comes out. And he was my first and my favorite anti-hero of all time, because my uncle is only like a few years older than me ultimately. Like when I was born, he was like 13 or 14. So not a huge deal older than I was. But when I was a kid, he was just getting out of the house. Well, he had been into comics and X-Men and all that stuff. Like, Marvel was his thing. And he had a ton of, like, New Mutants and X-Force and all that other stuff back in the day.
X-Force.
Yeah. And he had some stuff, and it had Deadpool in it. And I was like, oh, this dude's so cool. Holy cow, this is amazing. And I came to love him because he was so quippy and so witty, but he was also so brutal. He would absolutely cut somebody's head off. He was my first big introduction into Marvel as far as the comics and stuff go. And, honestly, that's the Marvel I truly remember is the 90s Marvel. When it was kind of garbage.
I'll say that's when it went downhill.
Yeah, which is sad. But, over time I've checked out, I've gotten the trade paperbacks with the more classic stuff and things like that, because I cannot afford to get anything from the 60s, 70s, or 80s. I don't have thousands of dollars laying around. So, the 90s, that's what stuck with me the most. And I remember that art style. I remember all the Liefeld stuff. And so Deadpool really stuck with me, and he resonated with me. I loved him as a character, and he is like you were saying, he is the anti-Wolverine. And it was a very smart move too, because Wolverine was so freaking big at the time. that anything you could tie in with Wolverine, anything that you could get that was related to Wolverine at
Oh,
all,
yeah,
you were going to print money.
Yeah, I was about to say you were going to print money. It was going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
But what really astonishes me about Deadpool, after he went from being, villain to anti-hero to kind of hero, is all the actual like team affiliations he was in or a part of.
Oh yeah, he's
I mean, let's go through the list here. Agency X, Astonishing, Avengers, Avengers Unity, Division, Code Red, Deadpool Corps, Frightful Four, Great Lakes Initiative, Heroes for Hire, Landu, Luckman, and Lake. Mercs for Money, Secret Defenders, Work for Shield, Six Pack, Ross's Thunderbolts, of course, Weapon X, the X-Man, and of course, X-Force. I mean, that's a lot. No, I mean,
Yes.
not many Marvel heroes can just, put that list together that they've been a part of.
Yeah, no, nobody really can. And
Exactly.
honestly, it's not a good thing. Because most teams he winds up working for, he either double crosses at some point or screws over so bad he gets kicked off and never allowed to come back again.
And I gotta throw it out there. One of my favorites is got to be Deadpool Spider-Man because of
Oh my god.
Deadpool's more ruthless, with his quitty, comebacks, and Spider-Man's, fast with the comebacks, but he's not so vulgar with it.
Right. Yeah.
And
He's a kid.
it's
Yeah.
always Spider-Man telling him, "Okay, tone it down, buddy. Like, you don't have to say skull fuck here. Like,
it's not really necessary, guys.
fuck the brain hole."
Oh god. Oh man. And I really say I really like I hate Gail Simone, but at the same time I kind of like Gail Simone because the little yellow boxes, that was kind of her thing.
Right.
In the early
right.
2000s. And I loved it because that, to me, that's kind of, that's definitely Deadpool. He is a team of one when you really think about it. His brain is completely fucked. He's scrambled up. He's nuts. And I remember, let's see, there was Deadpool Max, which was absolutely stupid and awesome. I loved it. Or like Taskmaster was a woman. Domino was having an affair with him and faking being pregnant and shit. And Cable, oh god, it was so ridiculous. Like, just insane. And I've had so much fun checking out the character, but he is absolutely nuts. There is no sane version of Deadpool other than the movie version. Like, the movie version is super tame compared to what's in the comics.
It really is. But yet it still personifies Deadpool because of Ryan Reynolds. I mean, that's really what it is.
It really does. Like, he keeps his sanity. He's not crazy to the point of, it's really hard to describe with Deadpool. Like, it's tough. Just read the comics, kids. Or no, kids, don't read the comics. Have your parents read them to you. They make excellent bedtime stories. You will not have nightmares, I promise. Make sure you get them to show you the pictures. Have fun, kiddies. But
Nighty night.
But he's just he knows he's a fictional character. He breaks the fourth wall on the regular. He has conversations with himself. I mean, he is just a ridiculous character that makes no sense. And because of that, he makes all the sense in the world in the Marvel universe. Like, God, I remember one run, he was convinced by Loki that Loki was his father and that he was actually, worthy to wield Thor's hammer, so he became Thorpool for a little while. But it was a fake. It was just, oh my god. And seeing Deadpool wielding the hammer and everything and having the winged helmet and all that, and thou shalt be I can't talk like this. Seriously, does this come with the hammer? Is this a thing? It's like it's so wonderful. Like, and he's been through so many iterations. Loki curses him and makes him look like Tom Cruise, but they spell it THOMCRUZE, so they can't get sued. I mean, and he's so pissed, like he wears his mask whenever he takes it off. People are like, is that Tom Cruise? Oh god, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's like, no, that's Brad Pitt. The wind can't blow what it can't see.
But also, like, they make the joke with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, where he's like, "Donde está la biblioteca?" And all that, where he doesn't speak Spanish. In the comics, he's fucking fluent. And it's amazing. But it's just
now, one thing that did throw me off in the Deadpool comics was, he was it's pretty funny. He was confirmed as being, pansexual.
Yeah. Honestly,
Deadpool is whatever sexual inclination his brain tells him to be at that moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that tells you just how crazy the guy is.
That's exactly right. Like, he can shack up and have a 6-month affair with a fat space hippo. Like, Deadpool in space is absolutely fucking hilarious. I won't even lie. It was a weird run. And honestly, Deadpool can get away with doing weird and wacky, and some of it's straight up SJW stuff. But just like in his comics, people can throw a little bit of their politics and a little bit of stuff that absolutely would not work for any other Marvel character in there with Deadpool, and it's still entertaining. You still want to read the comics. It's not like other stuff with, like Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, and Gwenpool, and it hurts me to talk about these characters. Captain Marvel! Anyways.
Who?
But,
It's Miss Marvel.
It honestly, it really is. And Kamala Khan does not need to exist. There is no excuse for her. America Chavez, same way. They're just
just like Ironheart.
No, they feel like self-inserts.
I mean,
sometimes,
and in every way, I'm not trying to be sexist, but come on, it's just like, the female Thor. I mean, Jane Foster shouldn't be Thor,
right? Like, it was here's the thing.
It's been going for 40 and 50 years.
Yeah.
I get you got to change stuff up, but pass it on to somebody similar. Don't go to what the culture wants you to go to. Go to what you've been doing good at and killing it at.
Right. Or you have Jane Foster get awesome Asgardian powers through some other means, but not through Mjolnir.
Right.
Not through becoming Thor.
Eating those, the golden apples that all the Asgardians eat and becoming a Valkyrie or something. You know what I mean? Just
come up with something awesome.
Just do it different. Don't just be like, well, okay, Thor's gone. Jane Foster's Thor now.
It's just
stop.
Don't take characters that people are used to, gender bend them, and then just make them completely different.
In my opinion, it's all for the purpose of the here and now, and
It is, and that's
and people
for the woke
complain.
crowd.
Yes, and people complain, and it's like, oh well, most superheroes are male and blah 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 and dominant, and it's just
But
like,
they're
well,
straight white males. It's like, yeah, that's what
yeah.
most of the. This is pretty much the biggest percentage
It's
of the
like, I'm
country.
sorry, but back in the 80s, y'all remember they made Colossus gay. Okay, I'm sorry. That was one of the most manliest characters out there. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, it's not that I'm mad about it. The comics are still good. They're just not great,
And that's the big thing. And a lot of people like the Comicsgate crowd, which I've dealt with them a little bit, and I enjoyed hanging out with some of them. Laughed at War Campaign and with War Campaign for a little bit. Now they've gone off the deep end. Laughed at and with the Cherries a little bit, off the deep end. Ethan Van Sciver's kind of an asshole. Good dude. I'm looking forward to when Cyberfrog comes out. I'd love to get me a copy. But bit of an asshole. But he doesn't pretend he's not an asshole. That's the great thing. He owns it.
Right. Right.
And I still love his work on like the Green Lanterns and everything, and helping, co-creating the freaking Red Lanterns with Atrocitus, and oh my god, oh, so cool. Like hatred, rings that run off hatred. That's awesome. And pretty much doing the stuff that led to the Blackest Night run for DC. But we really need to find a happy medium. If I don't want overt politics in my comics, I'm not a big fan of that. I like allegory. I love allegory. The way Stan did it and the way he said you should do it, put it in there, but don't beat people over the head with it. That to me is genius. That's the way you want to do it.
Right. I mean, he had it perfectly balanced.
Mm-hmm.
He had lead female characters. He had lead, African American characters. And yes, most were predominantly white, which in America, that's how it is.
Right.
And he took, all cultures into consideration and did it, but didn't push that agenda. And that's what's wrong to me with nowadays of people, is they're always pushing the agenda of, well, it's wrong or it's sexist and it's this and that. I hate to get into it. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. But I mean, that's just how it is nowadays. And it's hard for people to get over that fact.
Yeah. And that's that again, like we were saying before we got off on this gigantic tangent. That is ultimately, you can do stuff like that with Deadpool to a great degree. He's a lot more flexible as a character to be able to handle stuff like that. He's the one you want to get. If you want to put any kind of politics or any kind of message or any kind of wacky craziness that you believe in, right or left, I don't care. I'm sitting on the fence here going, you guys are insane. But
yeah, I'm sitting on the mountain going, you guys are fucking stupid. Don't come on my land.
But yeah, do it with Deadpool. If you're gonna do it with anybody, don't take other.
Oh yeah, okay, because Deadpool, like you just said, can go any other way and still make it hilarious
and just be entertaining. Like I have never had a Deadpool series that I was actually disappointed with. I will say I've never bought a Deadpool comic or a trade paperback that I said I wasted my money.
I will say I'd have to say my favorite would be the 2004 Deadpool Cable.
Yes,
that would have to be my favorite,
dude. Oh my god. The Deadpool and Cable team-ups are the best thing on the planet.
And they nailed it on the movie. God, that was so great. I love Josh Brolin in that.
The movies are amazing, and I wish we had more time to talk about them, but we have been running about an hour and 40 minutes now. I think it's time we should wrap this up. But folks, thank you for joining us. And if you watch this on the replay, please enjoy, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you want more of this in time.
Hey, feel free to comment. Let us know what you want us to do for next Marvel Monday or Warhammer Wednesday or Free for All Fridays.
That's right. We'll be back in 2 days with a new live stream. We look forward to hearing about all the stuff you want us to do. Like you said, drop us a comment, talk to us. We love to interact. Until next time, I've been Sumo-tacular.
This is the Smed Head.
Take care, everyone, and
Roll
Tide.
Tide.